Breaking free from that good government job. This is for Black women in toxic jobs. I wanted to have this conversation because many of you may be in so-called good government jobs, but the job may not be necessarily that good for you anymore. It may be toxic and or you may have outgrown it. So I wanted to have a conversation about that because I formerly was in a government job. My guest formerly was in a government job. And many of us get government jobs because we think there's a level of security and we have all these different expectations. So wanted to have an open conversation about leaving a good government job and doing well, pivoting and doing well, and how to do that. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, toxic job survivor, and more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I'm also the co-host with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. It has already passed, but you can get the replay, and I'll put the information description section as well as on the screen. So, I'm on earlier today. Usually I'm on the evening because our special guest is around the world right now. So she's going to share that with us. So Katrina, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Katrina. I go by Katrina Michelle on my social media platforms. But I recently quit my good government job to travel around the globe. I am currently in the Netherlands, Amsterdam specifically. And I've been on the road since December 2023, and life is good. Life is good.
Yes, you should follow her because you have a drone, right?
I do.
And she takes these fabulous pictures and videos. You need to follow her, okay? So thank you, Katrina. Can you share with us about your experience in a good government job and what contributed to you leaving?
So I had been with the federal government in some form or fashion since 2000. I was in the military. I got out of the military in 2006, and in early 2007, I became a federal civilian. For a short period of time, I left to go contract, to then come back in as a government employee. I was trying to get a particular job, and the path for me to do that was to leave the federal government. I left for about a year and a half, and then when a position came open, they called me back as a federal employee, and that was in 2013.
Okay.
And I had been with the Department of Defense at that particular time, and then moved over to Homeland Security. And that's who I was with when I left in 2023. And I've been with Homeland Security for 8 years.
So you had a long history with the government agency, right? So can you tell us what contributed to your decision to leave that job?
Yeah, I think it was just like a combination of things. In a simple word, it was life, right? But there were some things that led up to me realizing that, these jobs are just that, right? I think the first big thing was the government shutdown in 2018. The government was shut down for 30 something days. And we're Homeland Security, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like you said in the opening, we have these federal jobs and we think they're so secure. And then something happens like a shutdown, and you realize maybe they aren't so secure.
Right.
So I think that was
scary too, Katrina. Let me just right quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. And I think that's so scary too. And I appreciate you saying that, because when we think about stability, what we're thinking about is a stable paycheck, right? So I'm every so I'm getting a stable check, but you're talking about a government shutdown. So we're thinking about money. Your money is at stake, right? And particularly if that's your only source of income. So I just wanted to just highlight that.
Yeah. And it was a huge wake up call for a lot of people. Even though it was one of those things where once the government was back up and running, we knew we were going to get paid again. But it was just that, in that moment, that's when you realize that it's not as stable as you think. And so a lot of people were like, I can do something else. There's something else out here. I think for
Mm-hmm.
me, that was the first wake up call. Then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And at the same time, my father got sick. And so it was just all these things, like just life was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just, my life was just moving towards, I want to do something different. And
Mm.
because of the things that I, had experienced and what I had seen, there was no fear with trying to do something different, wanting to do something different.
So due to the financial, like you could see, it wasn't really stable as we all thought it might be. And then other life events kind of put things in perspective. I know that happened to me during the pandemic. I was like, wait a minute, this is not the life that I want to live. Like
Right.
there's so much more for life for me, for my life.
Right.
So let me ask you this, Katrina. Was there elements of toxicity at your job, or was it more so I want a different way of life?
I wanted a different way of life. I
Okay.
really did have a good government job in all sense of the word. I mean, in terms of what I was doing, I loved what I was doing. I was in public affairs. I guess the thing about the government is, there's like parameters that you have to live within, and
Mm-hmm.
going outside of the box is really just not what they do in the federal government, especially in the agency that I was working for. And so to that degree, I wasn't happy, but it didn't have anything to do with like management or coworkers. COVID happened, and I became a remote employee. So I never went back into the office after COVID. And so I
Wow.
had that freedom, right? And
Mhm.
I used it to my advantage, right?
Yeah.
So I got them to allow me to make a move to Florida, where I resided for about 6 months. I was able to travel around the United States while I was working. Probably wasn't supposed to be doing that, but I was doing my job, and I had a supervisor that was like, as long as you were doing your work, she wasn't on you. So when I say my job wasn't toxic and in the ways that a lot of people are trying to leave jobs, that just was not my situation, right?
Mhm.
I really did leave a good government job, and I wanted something different. It didn't have anything to do with me not being happy at the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I just wanna say that's how I actually met you in person, was at Stephanie's. We had a meetup in Joshua Tree, Palm Springs
Yeah.
last year? I think it was last
It
year.
was in 2023. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I met Katrina. I had heard about Katrina because I watched Stephanie's channel all the time, and I heard her talking about you, but I didn't know you were gonna be at the meetup. So I got a chance to meet Katrina at the meetup because of Stephanie Perry's meetup, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
it's so interesting, Katrina, and I so appreciate what you're saying because I want Black women to see the full range of
Yeah.
work experiences, right? So, many times I talk about the toxic work experiences and how it's harmful and these jobs and all the kind of stuff, right? But I also say to Black women, you have options because you can leave one job and go to another job that's not toxic, right?
Right.
Because some Black women now are coming to believe that all jobs are toxic. I don't believe all jobs are toxic. You are a perfect example. The job wasn't toxic. But what I so appreciate what you're saying is it was no longer good for you,
Right.
right?
That's
And
what it
being
was.
able to say, you know what, this job may be good financially, it might give me freedom, it might give me all these things. But for me, it no longer works. And it's okay for
Mhm.
me to leave. I
Mhm.
love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's exactly what
So
it was.
yes, 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 yes. So, can you share, were there any emotional or financial hurdles or prep you had to do for you to leave that job? Because when I think about leaving a job for me, and I don't know if because it was so toxic, I knew I had to go. My job was a government job, but it was local, it wasn't federal.
Mhm.
But there was fear. There was so much fear involved with me leaving, right? Even though I knew I had to go, all these other things, there was so much fear of me going, emotional, sad, all these other things, the grief of leaving the job that I had to work through therapy. I had to get a coaches to help me through the process. What was your process of leaving? Did you have to jump over emotional and financial hurdles as well?
I think the emotional hurdles that I had to jump over were the things that were going on in my personal life, right? Seeing my father pass away,
Oh.
the breakup of a relationship.
Mm.
So it was those hurdles, right,
Yeah.
that I had to get over. It had nothing to do with work, but I knew that if I was able to get through what I was going through in my personal life, that I was going to be
Mm.
okay.
Mm.
But yeah, it was all personal. I took all of 2023 to just like get everything to a place where I could leave. But I
Mhm.
but I knew that if I had gotten to that place, then taking the leap to leave the United States was going to be the easy part. The hard part was getting through the personal things that I had to get through.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first, I want to say I'm so sorry about the loss of your father
Thank you.
and the other loss you talked about, a relationship breakup. So these are major life events that could kind of
Yeah.
change the trajectory of our lives and make us
Right.
pivot, right?
Right.
So you said there were a number of things you did to get ready.
Yeah.
So as you were getting ready, and even though said, you know what, if I was able to make it through this, I can move and pivot, right? Was there any level of fear about leaving the job?
I don't think so, because I know that there's so many government jobs out there, or just jobs in general, that I never felt like if I left, that if I needed to come back, that I wouldn't be able to. I knew that I had enough work experience. I
Mhm.
knew that I had done enough things in my government career
Mhm.
that if I presented myself to another employer, that I would be just as viable as the next person.
Mhm.
When I left the military in 2006, I mean, everybody thought I was crazy. I had served I had served 6 years, and they just could not understand why I was not going to retire. And I was in Washington, D.C., like the
Mhm.
hub of the federal government.
Mhm.
And in
Mhm.
my mind, I'm like, if I leave the government, there are so many jobs out here. Why would I be afraid? I'm sorry, to leave the military. Why would I
Yeah.
be afraid when the
There's
federal
so many other
government is like
things.
right here? There are
Right.
jobs. I will be fine. And so I think because I've always been like just like taken care of. I did not fear that if I made a different move, that I wouldn't be taken care of in some
Yeah.
form or fashion. And it didn't matter to me that I didn't know what that was going to look like. I just
Mhm.
knew I was going to be okay based on
Yeah.
everything that I had been through.
Yeah. So that sense of confidence and knowing what you bring to the table. So you said, well, I have all this work experience. I know there's a lot of other jobs that I can get. Worst case scenario, I could just
Right.
go back to another job. I
Right.
think a lot of Black women that they don't have that, right? That understanding. It's that sense of I have to stay at this job. This is the only place where I can make money. If I leave this job, I'm gonna end up homeless, right? So it jumps to those fears. But you're saying to Black women, look at me by example, that I was able to leave. And you know what I said to myself? If I have to go back to a job, I'll go back to a job. There's other jobs available because I
Yeah.
have the work
Right.
experience, right? So
Right.
that's powerful. Now you
Right.
tapped into something I was going to ask you too. You said that people were like, "Are you crazy for leaving the
Mhm.
military?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
why do you retire? Were there other people when you said you were going to leave your job, your good federal job, that they said, "What are you doing?" Like, did they have issues, or did you have some responses or pushback from anybody?
Mm-mm. Because I think a lot of people are tired. They just, right? They were just like, wow, right? They weren't, I think a lot of people are at the point where if I could leave, I would too, right? That's really most people's
Wow.
reactions.
Okay.
Nobody was surprised. Nobody was
And it
surprised.
sounds like they were inspired by you.
Nobody was surprised. Look, when I called my supervisor, I turned 50 last year, September.
Mhm.
And I went to New Orleans for my birthday. Spent
Okay.
2 weeks down there. And on my 50th birthday, on that day, I called my supervisor, and I was calling to let her know that I was going to be leaving the federal government. I just wanted to give her a heads up.
Mhm.
I called, she didn't answer the phone.
Mhm.
And A few minutes later, she calls me back and she says, now, she knows I'm on vacation. She knows I'm in New Orleans celebrating my birthday.
Uh-huh.
She calls me back and she says, "You're calling to resign, aren't you?" I said, "You know me so well."
Wow.
And I told her, absolutely, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I said, I always told you that when I make the decision, I'm going to give you enough of a heads up to start looking for somebody. That was at the end of September, and I knew that it was going to be the December time frame. So I gave her way more than 2 weeks notice. But yeah, nobody was really surprised.
Right. I'm like amazed that you had that type of relationship with your supervisor, that there was a degree of respect, that she supported you. It wasn't like that animosity that I think a lot of us experience. So, Katrina, can you share with us the pivot? Because we are like excited. Like, what was the pivot? How did you pivot? What did you pivot to? What does your life look like now?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so before I answer that question, I just want to say something that I've only said to a few people because it just recently happened. Just to let you know how okay you will be if you leave a job. So I spent 2 months in Sri Lanka. I was in Sri Lanka. While I was there, okay, so I land. I do a visa extension, and so you had to go back through the visa process, right, a second time for them to approve the visa extension. And I'm guessing some sort of way my name alerted State Department that I'm in Sri Lanka. Okay, I want you to know that I got a personal email from the State Department to apply for a foreign service officer job in Sri Lanka. So I'm saying all of this to say
they finding you to give you a job.
That's what I'm saying. I did not, I did a little digging, but I didn't do any further than that. But I'm saying all of that to say that a job is going to always be there, right? They will come looking for you in some instances. And so, although I didn't feel the need to apply for it, it just made me feel a little bit better about my decision, right? About what I did, and knowing that when the time comes, something is gonna be there.
Exactly.
Something is gonna be there.
I love that. Yeah. I love that story. I hope that our listeners are able to hear that not only the confidence, but you had actual data. You have proof that they were actually looking for you to apply for a job.
Right. So it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Okay. So what was the other question I was supposed to answer?
How did you pivot? Right? What was your process? Because so you had your birthday celebration in New Orleans, but then you gave a 2-month window about the job.
Yeah, about a 2-month
how did you
window.
Pivot, and what did it look like?
Gosh, you mean like pivot, like after I actually quit?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So I thought my last day was going to be December the 10th.
Okay.
Like I said, I had been in Florida. I was working away. My home base was in Washington, D.C. I had been working remotely. So in my mind, I come back to DC the beginning of this particular week and just kind of do everything, to close out that last week. Well, when I got to DC, they were like, no, ma'am, your last day is going to be on the 7th. So December the 7th ended up being my last day. I did, whatever you have to do to leave the government. And
so they moved up the date?
Huh?
They moved up the date?
Yeah, they actually, well, you know what? I'm not going to say they moved up the date. Nobody actually knew what the date was going to be.
Okay.
We did not know what the resignation was going to look like, honestly, right? It's like in the federal government, sometimes people do things and they act like they're doing it for the first time. and so when I got there and they like pulled the paperwork, they were like, no, in actuality, it needs to happen like this. So I, within 2 or 3 days, turned in everything, got everything signed off on. And I had a one-way ticket to Ghana. And just like that, all of the personal business had been done. my things, my, moving my furniture, making sure my car had a home. All of that stuff had been taken care of. And so when I went to DC that week of December, it must have been around the 5th, because the 7th was my actual last day.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the rest of that week to, do some odds and ends, get those last things that I thought I needed for, my trip.
Mm-hmm.
And December the 11th, I was on a plane with a one-way ticket.
Wow. Okay. So tell us about how you decide on Ghana, and tell us about the one-way ticket.
Well, I knew I wasn't coming back, so it had to be a one-way. I knew where I was going after Ghana, and I hadn't
You already
made
planned
those.
it out.
Well, the only thing that I knew that I was going to do was be in Ghana I thought I was going to be there for only 30 days. I ended up being there for 60 days.
Wow.
But I also knew that I was going to be in South Africa after Ghana because of the Exodus community meetup that was in Cape Town. So I knew that after Ghana, I was going to be in South Africa. Just thought I would, bop around South Africa prior to going to the meetup that was in Cape Town. But I started in Ghana because of family. I have a cousin who's married to a young lady from Ghana. They go to Ghana every year for Christmas. And my cousin asked me to do the holidays with them in Ghana. And I loved it so much. I ended up staying, because they give you 60 days on your visa. At least they gave me 60 days on my visa.
Okay.
Like I said, the plan was to leave right after January 1 and bop over to South Africa. Enjoyed my time in Ghana, so I stayed another 30 days and then bopped over to South Africa. But yeah, all of the plans to this point have been up in the air. So just kind of playing it by ear.
Yeah. So how do you decide where to go? So you went Ghana, South Africa. So the Exodus Summit meetup was in Cape Town. And then how did you decide to go from there, and where are you now? How did you end up?
So after South Africa, I ended up in Sri Lanka. Spent 2 months in South Africa, traveled around South Africa. Did a quick bop over to Zimbabwe to see the falls.
Oh, wow.
But from South Africa, made my way to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka has been a place that I've always wanted to visit. There were some like personal things that I wanted to do. Like I did some yoga training there. Did some Ayurvedic healing practices, mostly massages.
Okay. I love it.
Glorified massages.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to get into the treatments a little bit deeper. But I knew that there were some things that I wanted to do in Sri Lanka, and so that's how I ended up in Sri Lanka after South Africa. I'm in the Netherlands. The plan was to see Burna Boy. He canceled the concert.
Oh,
I had a ticket and plans to be here anyway, so I came anyway.
okay.
The concert was supposed to be this Sunday. He canceled. No problem. Came anyway. But that's how I ended up here in the Netherlands.
Awesome. And how long do you plan to be there? And then how do you decide where to go next?
If I knew that answer, I would probably be less stressed right now. I have no idea where I'm going after.
Wow.
After
That's
here.
ultimate freedom.
That is the ultimate freedom. But it can be a little stressful, I will tell you. I'm not a planner by nature. I kind of go with, how I feel. And that's probably another reason why, now that I'm saying it out loud, why there wasn't a lot of fear involved, because I go with how I feel. And me leaving just felt right. It felt like it was what I was supposed to do. So it's hard to be fearful when you're in the process of doing something that feels right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be doing this. Yeah.
So that's part of your personality, though.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Kind of go with the flow, not really being a planner. Okay. So if there's a Black woman watching this right now, and she might have a good government job. So her job might be like yours, was not toxic, or she might be in a toxic, good government job, right? If she's in that situation, but she really wants to go, Katrina, she's like, I'm done with this, but I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. What words of wisdom could you share with her?
I think you have to make up in your mind that the situation that you're in is not what you want. It's not right. It doesn't feel good. It's not serving you, right? You have to make up in your mind that this is not where I want to be.
Mm,
And I want to be here, but how do I get here, right?
mm,
And everybody's process to get to wherever that there is going to be, unique to them.
mhm,
But you really just have to make up in your mind that it's time to do something different.
mm,
Yeah,
mhm,
it's really just coming to the conclusion that you want to do something different. Change doesn't have to be scary, or
mhm,
even if it is scary, just
mhm,
know that there's like another side of change.
mhm,
um just imagine what you can accomplish when you decide that you want to make change.
mhm,
How different life really could be in a good way if you decide to make that change.
mhm.
And stand fast in the decisions that you make, and know that everything is going to be all right. And
Yeah,
it really just know that everything is going to be all right. It really
yeah.
is.
To know everything's going to be all right, particularly if you have the data to know, if you have the experience, credentials, all these other things, that worst case scenario, if you need to get another job, you can do that, right? The other
Absolutely.
thing is that you show an example of being able to pivot, and you're not a planner, but things have fallen into place. For
Right.
Black women who are planners, the importance of getting your exit plan together, right?
Yeah.
Starting preparing, starting reaching out to people, get the Job Liberation Virtual Summit replay for Black women, right?
Yeah.
Getting things together so you are ready to leave and you feel more comfortable leaving.
Right.
And Katrina, this is something that just came up, and I'm thinking about this as I'm fanning because we're in the same age category.
Yes.
That's why I got this
Yeah.
fan. But I think for women in our generation, there is this perception that I can't pivot now. At this age, I can't do that because I have responsibilities. I have this, I have that, I have that. I'm just going to try to stick it out until retirement. I can't do that, right? And so, what would you say to Black women in our generation who might feel they cannot do that because of responsibilities they have?
I think it's like I said, I think it's just a mindset. And
Mhm.
I also think getting into community with people who have done it it couldn't do anything but help you to see
Agree.
other women doing it, seeing other women who are working towards that, um, getting in the community with people who are like you, who have a similar goal and mindset, people who are going to encourage you. Get in community with people who are gonna, cheer you on. Um, I think that's important. I think that's important.
I completely agree. So being in community not only gives you the support, but shows you what is possible and you can
Right,
learn from other Black women. So that's why
right,
the Exodus Summit is so popular. That's
right.
why the Job Liberation
Absolutely.
Virtual Summit had over 300 Black women. So again,
Right,
shameless
right.
plug, you can get the replay. So I want to ask you, Katrina, this is something I ask Black women often. Do you have any regrets about leaving your job?
Oh, not a one. Not a
Not a
one.
one, not a
Not
one.
a one. Not a one. Not
Wow.
a one. I promise you.
Oh.
I don't regret a thing. This opportunity, everybody, for their reason for leaving and what they want to do when they leave a job, everybody's decision and plan is going to be different.
Mhm.
I wanted to leave and travel, and I have not regretted one thing about it. The experiences, the people. Um, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't
Yes.
change it. I would not change
And
it.
when I tell Black women that out of all the Black women I've interviewed, that not one Black woman has ever said, I regret leaving that job. And it might be hard for people to believe that as they're in the
Mm-mm.
job, like, I'm not
Mm-mm.
going to, because I invested so much to be here. No, you are
Mm-mm.
not going to regret it, particularly if you are
Mm-mm.
at the point, like you said before, Katrina, when you realize that the job you're in no longer serves you, that you're not growing or stifling you in some way, or it's harming you, then it's time to go. It's time to
It
go.
is.
And
It
the
is.
only regret I have about the toxic job, because people ask me, do I harbor any ill will or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, those people who treated me horribly, I never want to see them again in my life, right? But I don't think about them. I don't, right? But I see the good that I got out of that job too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only regret that I have is that I didn't leave sooner. That's the only regret I have, right?
Right.
So being able to walk away and say, you know what, I made the best decision for me, my
Yep.
family. It was a good thing, right? So,
Absolutely.
Katrina, before we end, I want to read the chat. So people were saying that they're following you, right? And they said you're such an exciting person. Yes, she is. Again, you need to look. Girl, your drones and your pictures are gorgeous. I love
Thank
them.
you. Thank
I
you.
need this conversation in a government job right now. Hey
Mm-hmm.
everyone. Oh, you were quiet vacationing. I guess when you were working and you were like other places, right?
Yeah.
It can be toxic in another way, in a way that there's more to life than this.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. That's it. Yeah, that's it. There's more to life than sitting in an office. And we just don't know how long we have. Like I said, seeing my father pass away, take his last breath was really an eye opener for me. Um, and if I died tomorrow, just know that I would be like so happy and satisfied. I won't feel like, I missed out on something, or why didn't I do that right? And that's what you don't want to do. So you want to tell your story, live your life like how you want people to tell your story.
Oh.
And so yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. Life is not promised to us. And, just thinking about what Stephanie was saying, that, a job is a way for us to make money. It's not our life. But I think sometimes our identity becomes so wrapped up in our job title, what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for us to even introduce ourselves without talking about our profession, right?
Right.
But we're saying, no. We need to focus on who we are as women, as Black women, and
Yeah.
not only in terms of a job. And, Stephanie always talks about Black excellence, right?
Right.
So being able to say, you know what, I've done these things, I've accomplished these things, but is it fulfilling for me? Because I think some people get to a point where they look around them and they're like, is this the life that I wanted? Is this what I worked so hard for? And if it's no, then Katrina and I are saying, look at your options, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey y'all, I made it. Let's see. I know people who work in the veteran hospitals and they say it's very toxic. You didn't work in the veteran hospitals though.
No.
Right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And just to just state that in my journey of talking to Black women on YouTube and therapy and coaching, toxic jobs are everywhere. They're all over the world. No matter what your profession is. So unfortunately, they're everywhere. Okay. I'm in DC too. That's good. She didn't have that experience of toxicity. I struggle with the confidence of being able to secure another job because it's harder to get back into the government that it was 10 years ago. Okay. So can you speak to that? The fear of, if I leave this good government job, will I be able to come back?
I never thought that. I never thought that if I left that I couldn't come back. I'm picking up all sorts of life skills while I'm out here on this road. And, there are a lot of people who are like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm hoping that an employer will see that as an added characteristic trait. She's strong, she's this, she's that. I mean, how many people are willing to do what I did? So I don't see it as a knock. I see it as me growing, me becoming a better person. me having these experiences all over the world and having to adjust. And if an employer, doesn't see me as added value, then that's not the job for me.
It's their loss.
Right, exactly. And who's to say that I'm even go back to a job? I don't know.
Right. And I think what's happening is that a lot of us start thinking only from our frame of reference of the job we have. But
Yeah.
it's sometimes like spreading that, like, well, maybe it's not that area, maybe it's something else, but you
Right.
have skills and talents that are transferable. So
Absolutely.
it might be kind of widening that circle so you don't feel so closed in, because that can
Right.
feel defeated, right? Like,
Right.
oh my God, I
Exactly.
won't be able to go anywhere else. No, you
Right.
can't. You can't.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this. Therapy might be important, because when you're in,
Yeah.
let's say a toxic job, particularly,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're in a toxic job, there's so much harm that you might experience that you might need that additional support of therapy, and even life-changing, like, I need to get out of here. You might need therapy too. And coaching might be helpful to help you structure what your next steps are. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, listen to this. Y'all, I was with her when she made the call. So they said,
That
oh,
was Francis.
they said, you didn't try to talk her out of it. She said, heck no, she inspires me. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Francis. Francis was in New Orleans with me when I made the phone call.
I love
Yeah.
it. See, those are the friends that we need around us when we're
Yeah.
making these life decisions. So
Yeah,
sometimes we have
absolutely.
people around us who are projecting their fears and,
Yep.
girl, don't do that. Da, da, da. You need to tell your story about what you
Yeah.
want to do to people who can pour into you and support you, not
Yeah.
people who scare you. I love that, Francis. That's incredible.
Yeah.
My job
Absolutely.
wasn't toxic. I was just tired. I gave my boss 6 months notice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to see you here. Okay, let's see. They're communicating with each other. A job is always going to be there. Right,
Yeah.
she said. Okay,
Yeah,
me
absolutely.
too. Always telling her that she is living my best life. So they're living through you, girl. But I hope that you inspire Black women watching this, that
Yeah, I
they can
hope
live
so
their best
too.
life too.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. I'm not special. Not in the sense that, you can't do what I'm doing, right? It's just a mindset, right? And
Mhm.
everything is going to be all right at the end of the day. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all
Yes.
right.
Yes. So true. So true. I have 4 weeks until my contract ends, and I can't wait. Congratulations. I checked my
Yay.
Social Security account and learned I've worked since I was 12. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
oh
Woo,
my goodness,
girl. It's
12.
time. It's past time. Oh gosh.
Is that even legal?
Girl, right.
Oh
It
my
should be
God.
legal. I don't think so.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy. Yeah. Wow. I had a good and stable job for 4.5 years, and I resigned in mid-April 2021. Congratulations. My friend is no joke. They're talking about you. They're like pumping you up. Burner, burner, burner. Hey, y'all. VA hospital is extremely toxic. I'm in the military. It's not ideal. I have goals that do not align with the military's goals. What can you say? Because I've never been in the military. What can you say to her?
No, she is right. And but the military is the type of place where once you realize that it's not the place for you, then you need to leave.
Mm,
Because if you don't do a good job, they'll kick you out, it'll ruin your record. So if
mm.
you already know that military life is not your thing, then you probably want to think about leaving. Yeah.
Good advice. Good
Yeah.
advice. Because of fear, we must save our lives. Nobody else will. So true. No regrets. Incredible. Best decision. I love how Katrina is living life. You can pick up skills as you travel the world. So true. She bet
Absolutely.
on herself. Yes, she did.
Mhm.
Thoughts about leaving the good benefits behind, TSP, pension, etc. Now, I just want to say, and I'm going to let Katrina talk about this too, but this is something we talked about in the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women, which again is available for replay, because the money and the concern about benefits keeps so many of us at a job. Okay. So if you want to find out what to do about that, what your options are, get the summit. Okay. I'm going to do another video, a recorded video about how I did it. Okay. But get the summit replay. So we're going to say, Katrina.
So that's a very good point. I'm telling you, the benefits were probably the only thing that I thought about when it was time for me to leave.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you I had the very best healthcare on the planet, like the best. I did worry about that. The good thing is that I'm not a sickly person. And so it wasn't like, okay, I'm leaving and I have this health thing. How am I going to get, checked out? Thank goodness that wasn't my story, but leaving the healthcare was difficult. And the TSP, not being able to contribute to it. My money is still in a TSP account. And it's just growing on its own. It's not growing, because I'm contributing to it. Definitely the hardest thing about leaving the job were the benefits, for sure.
Yeah, and let me add, just for me personally, that I am able to roll over my retirement, right? So there's other vehicles to do that, which you can find out about the Job Liberation Virtual Summit. But also, if you work for a government job, you still may be able to access your pension after you reach a certain age. But just check in with your job, check in to see what the protocol is about that. The other thing is, for healthcare benefits, you have many options to pay out of pocket. Now, I wouldn't say Cobra because that was ridiculously expensive, but there's other options for you. So again, get the replay and you can find out what those options are, okay? Katrina is not going back to a job. She will create one for herself. So true. This is a great conversation, much needed. Thank you so much. Yes, Francis. Hey, Deetra. They talking to chat. Okay. Y'all surround yourself with women who inspire you to do hard, scary, different things. Yes. And that's why I think, Stephanie Perry, Rashida Perry, Alicia Renese, these are such popular channels because we're seeing Black women not only saying the thing, they're doing the thing. And they're inspiring so many of us. So thank you for sharing that. Hey, honey, I love that. Mindset is everything. I was laid off in September 11th, 2023. And I have not regretted one moment. Yes, it has been a blessing. Yes, it has been a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yes. My whole career. Ooh, listen to this, Katrina. My whole career is toxic. And I'm putting a plan in place I hope you're making a plan in place to leave. Okay. Anything you want to say about that? Her whole career is toxic.
Make that plan and leave. Make that plan and leave. We're not here for that. God didn't put us here for that. He just didn't. He just didn't. That's not why we're here.
That part. We deserve so much better than that. Yes. Yeah. Government worker too. I just need to figure out how to pull $5,000 a month virtually. Yes. So again, come look at the summit, get the replay. It's the live, it's over. Get the replay. That's something we talk about, is how to create multiple streams of income. So Katrina talked about earlier, and I talked about, the concern is that we have the so-called good government job. You think it's stable, but it may not be stable, right? And with any job, if you're relying on that one job as your only source of income, that's not a good idea, okay? So during the summit, we did talk about multiple streams of income, how to replace your income, how to create your own job if you want to do that, how to get a side hustle, all those things and so much more. And then I see Francis, the replay. Okay, so look, on the bottom of the screen is information about how to get the replay. And it's also will be in the description section of this video, okay? So that's how you get the replay. If you are on here, realize that you are in community with women advocating for you to advocate and live for yourself and leave these jobs. Girl, I'm gonna put this up here. That is so true. That is so true, right? This is a community of Black women supporting one another. We are all here supporting one another. Even if we don't know you, even if I don't know you, even if Katrina doesn't know you, we are all supporting and uplifting you because we know that you deserve a better life. Even if your job is not toxic, we want you to live the life that you deserve, knowing that you deserve something better. And the first thing I think you said too, Katrina, is the awareness. This is not serving me. And when you realize it's not serving you, what do you need to do about that next? Okay. So thank you, Francis. This is a community. And that's why I read the community chat as well. Also, I forgot to say something, is that Marissa and I also have a free Telegram group to support Black women as you are in this journey. So I'll put that information in the description section as well. Okay. So get the replay of the summit and check out the Telegram group, which I'll put in a little later about how to access that. So any last words, Miss Katrina, world traveler, globe trotter, before we wind down today? Any last words you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I really just hope that I can be an inspiration. If it's, something different that you want. Change is scary, and there are a lot of things that we could otherwise focus our attention on negatively. But just know that it doesn't have to be that. There are people out here that will have your back, that will talk you through it, that will show you the way, that you don't have to be in a toxic job situation. You can absolutely liberate yourself, and do something that you want to do, that you prefer to do. The Exodus Summit community, Dr. Kamani's community, job liberation community. Make sure that you're linked up with these ladies, who are looking to do the same thing that you want to do, and that's get free.
Get free. Free yourself.
Free
That was so
yourself.
beautiful. Free yourself, girl. Free yourself.
Free
Okay.
yourself.
So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. Give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with at least 2 other Black women, okay? Because we're trying to liberate a whole bunch of Black women, not just you. We're trying to liberate a whole bunch of Black women. We have a movement of liberating Black women from toxic jobs and or jobs that you've outgrown, jobs that you no longer serve you, okay? Also, turn the notification bell so you will know anytime that I upload a video. Oh, they said you're inspiration. Yes, 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 yes. And I see somebody else said, yes, I have to leave because it affected my health. That's the other part that we need to really be aware of, that these jobs can affect us mentally, physically, and spiritually as well. So be mindful of that. No job takes priority over your own well-being. So be aware of that. You're being true to yourself. So true, so true. So everyone, thank you so much. And I will see you later. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.